All right, quick bit of housekeeping before we start the episode. The Spoily Awards are coming up. What are the Spoilies, you're asking?
They are our totally real and not bogus awards for everything we reviewed here in the last year is up potentially for an award. We did nominations, and if you're curious how that process works, boy, we've got a whole episode about that for you.
Yeah, you can listen to that.
A very, very long episode, or we also have a short one that you can just go and listen to the nominations right now and, just kind of make your own decisions.
Exactly.
Which is important because this is all about you, the listener, having a voice. No backroom deals with old men smoking cigars going on this episode.
That's a reference to the Oscars, right?
Yeah, totally.
Okay. It almost sounds like that's how we normally do stuff here.
This whole room's filled. I can't even see Ryan. There's so much cigar smoking.
No,
here.
so yeah, everybody gets a vote, and at the end we'll tally it, and we'll have the winners. On March 10th is when we're going to have the Spoily Awards. It'll be a YouTube video and a normal podcast episode. So, but right now through March 1st, you can vote in the Spoilies. So go to our website, spoilersintendedpodcast.com. On social, we got links to it in the Discord. On our Patreon. Any way that you can contact us, we have posted the Spoily Awards.
In this episode description, there's a link.
There is, yes. So vote in the Spoilies now. Let's start the episode.
It's animated, it's boring, it's Japanese.
What?
I've seen this movie several times, and every time it gets devastatingly worse and makes less and less sense.
This person just clearly hates themselves.
It makes less sense?
I have no words for how awful this movie is.
You just typed so many words.
He wrote a review about it.
That was a 1-star review from IMDb. And welcome. This is Spoilers Intended, a podcast about series and films. I'm Steven, joined as always by Andrew.
Hello.
And Ryan.
That's not Andrew. I'm body swapping with him right now. We're dreaming.
Oh, gosh.
Are we? Please don't do that.
It's a nightmare.
You don't want to live in my life.
I know. I want to get out.
Ryan is touching Andrew's chest.
No.
I am.
No.
What are these? What are these?
Oh, I'm so sad.
You calling me fat?
Not directly.
I really
it's
wish,
called subtext, Andrew.
I really wish that 1-star had started with "It's Japanese." Sadly, it did not.
It did not.
However, if it somehow gave it away, I don't think it really could.
It couldn't, yeah.
We are reviewing 2016's Your Name.
Yes.
That is a movie by Makoto Shinkai.
Yep.
And I guess we'll kick this off with a little synopsis, huh?
Give us a little synopsis.
2 teenagers share a profound magical connection upon discovering they are swapping bodies. Things become even more complicated when the boy and girl decide to meet in person.
Yeah.
And that
close enough.
That boils down a whole lot to 2 sentences.
It really does.
Let me tell you.
It's a relatively dense story for what it is.
And for the length of it, it's only like an hour 45 or something like that.
Really? It always feels longer.
Yeah, it really does feel longer.
Just goes.
Yeah.
Okay, so a little background information. This is directed by Makoto Shinkai, who's known for things like Weathering with You, Suzume, and Garden of Words.
And Your Name.
And Your Name.
And
Mostly Your Name.
Yeah.
So it's written by Makoto Shinkai and Clark Cheng. Mm-hmm. I don't know who that is offhand. But music by Radwimps, which is a Japanese band. Voiced by, I'm so sorry, all of these people. Also, I can already tell you, I see one name that was auto-corrected.
Oh, no. That's the worst. When you put in
I'm trying to put Japanese names in here, and Apple is like, that's not how you spell things.
Your iPad's like, you don't mean that.
Yeah, so let's try some brutal here. Yeah. Ryunosuke Kamiki, Mone Kamishiraishi. Andrew, you want to take this up?
Andrew, you want to just go there?
Yeah, I'll try, yeah.
Here we go.
Kamiki Yunosuke, who's Taki, then Mone...
Right.
Take a run at it.
Shiraishi? Okay. Kamishiraishi. Yeah, Mone Kamishiraishi. Wow, that's actually a hard one.
This is a lot of vowels in that name.
Yeah. Masami Nagasawa, Etsuko Ichihara, Ryo Narita, and Aoi Yuki.
Yeah, it changed that last one to Yukon. I looked at that and I was like, what? No, that's wrong.
I'm a Yukon gold potato.
Yeah. It's actually a pretty small cast.
It is. Yeah. It is. So budget. Y'all ready for this?
Yeah.
$5 million.
Oh my gosh. He had such a return for this.
Good freaking Lord, people. Wow. Pay the animators something.
Well, so I do know that Shinkai does a lot of his own key work.
That's true. Okay, that is true.
Yeah.
So when I saw this budget, because it was in yen, and I went and converted it. I was like, that can't be right. So I went and looked at like Suzume's budget. It's only like $6 million. I don't remember that from when we did the episode, but good Lord.
Yeah, they made hand over fist with this money.
Box office? Sure. Box office, $383 million worldwide.
Worldwide, wow.
Yeah, and this was the highest grossing anime film until Demon Slayer came out.
But I mean, like, look at that return. Like, eat your heart out, Disney.
No kidding.
Good
Shinkai just can do whatever he wants now.
Like, well, I understand why the studio would be like, we want another Makoto Shinkai film. Because I mean, even if you want to make $100 million for it, you're still making that's a 20 times return.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
That is insane. The budget,
it's ridiculous.
The Japanese film budgets, like Godzilla -1, just broke my brain. I actually was just like, I don't think this is accurate.
Yeah, now part of that is I'm not sure with this film specifically if they outsourced any type of in-between animations to Korea or something like that. Yeah, something like that. I mean, like, animation unfortunately does exploit.
It's pretty sweatshoppy.
Yeah.
But no, I was shocked because also, so I think 5 million was like 750 million yen. And the initial estimate was like 370 million yen. So it's like $2.5 million. I was like, there's no way that you made this film.
Right.
When like Boy of the Heron's sitting over here for almost 100 million
almost
production.
100 million,
yeah. They made Tangled for 200 million in 2010.
Oh, God. Oh my gosh.
It's crazy, right?
That's crazy.
Anyways, so let's get into it here. Let's get some spoiler-free thoughts from the two of y'all.
Yeah.
And
Ryan, I want to hear your thoughts first.
Yeah, I really like this movie.
Okay, first off.
Yes.
Have you seen this before?
I have only seen this one time before. It was at Andrew's house in 2016.
Andrew's
that sounds right, yeah.
Andrew's handing out drugs here.
Or 27, I don't know, whenever it was available.
You think you might like animation? Let me try here. First hit free, kid.
My wife and I went over to your house in Avondale, and we watched this, and I remember this is before she had seen a ton of anime. She had seen a few...
like Ghibli films.
So let me tell you.
I'm trying to think what else.
Andrew was on a kick about this film back then because it was not my first time seeing it, but I also watched this film
at Andrew's
house in Avondale in 2017.
Yeah.
Look, I like the movie, okay?
But to that point, that's the only time I had seen it before this rewatch. So,
and of course, Andrew talked the whole time, so you didn't get the whole plot, right?
No, he didn't. False.
I really like this movie. I think in terms of like unrequited, love and things like that, the thing to me that really sets this apart is the body swapping. And that's such a cool mechanic and such a cool plot device.
It's a Freaky Friday, but with some extra oomph to it.
But with like a different twist. So like, I loved that part of it. I love the animation.
Oh, it's absolutely
very, very good looking.
Yeah. I love the two main characters. I love the way that the story unfolds and how they kind of figure out pieces of each other's lives. And that's how they get to know each other. I don't really have any complaints per se. It's just, I don't think it's my favorite Shinkai film. I think Suzume is my favorite film by him. And I've seen Weathering with You, Your Name, and Suzume. And I would put this above Weathering with You probably, but below Suzume is how I would rank his films.
So I will say Garden of Words.
Garden of Words is really, really good. Incredibly pretty.
The premise is a little...
It's a little icky.
Okay.
But it's a short film. It's not a full feature length. Yeah.
Okay.
But Garden of Words is definitely worth watching if you enjoy Shinkai's works.
Yeah,
because
for sure.
It is by far one of his prettiest pieces that he's done. It's just wild.
When did that come out?
Oh, before
2013.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's buckle up there.
But it's prettier because it was shorter. They could put more.
He just did basically all the animation.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
It's also just.
Yeah, it's a little.
Okay. I'll look up a plot summary for you. Keep going.
Okay, so for me, Your Name, I watched it pretty much right when it first came out. Unfortunately, this was still right before the time where the U.S. was really doing theatrical releases for films.
Of Japanese films.
For anime specifically.
Yeah.
So I didn't get to see it until I was on a flight overseas.
Oh, wow.
And they had it on the flight because we were going to Japan.
Yeah.
And I was just like, well, it's here. I guess I'm just going to watch it here. And I was blown away by it the first time I watched it on the flight. So I literally just stopped, or like after it finished, I just
Stop the plane.
I just restarted it and watched it again. And then on the way back, I watched it again.
For reference to Andrew's comment about it didn't have big theatrical releases, box office in U.S. and Canada is just $5 million for this film.
Right. Which is
of 383 million worldwide.
It was,
but
that's crazy.
That should tell you how few of theaters.
Yeah, it was just
little
it
of
was
a play
nothing.
it got.
Or it was probably out for a weekend, and that was it.
Yeah. So I really enjoy this film a lot. Like I'll throw it on pretty much whenever. Like I'm just like, oh, I want to watch like an anime film, but I want to go, like build a model or something like that. I'll put this on because there are definitely like sections of the film where I'm not necessarily like, oh, I don't like it. It's just more of like, I can just kind of ignore this part
it's
and then
set
come
up
back
for the big payoffs.
Yes.
Yeah.
And also, there's just some fantastic music going on.
Yeah,
so.
the music's great. The big thing, though, is that the two main characters, Taki and Mitsuha, really have great chemistry together and just by themselves on screen, to where the voice actors or the seiyus really sold out on how well these characters really mesh with their world. And they have such an emotional punch at the end that it's really hard to ignore how well this film like kind of relates to just kind of like a general just human experience.
Yeah.
And it's like kind of surrounded by a little bit of a sci-fi and some other body swapping's fun.
Right. I hesitate to call it sci-fi. It's magic.
It's
it's
just
a very soft
It's
system.
a soft magic system.
Yeah. But I really like this. Now I will say though, just from like a recommendation standpoint, whenever I'm kind of like looking at these films, I always try and look at it from the perspective of, would I show this to someone like my mom that doesn't watch anime, or would I show this to a friend that is not an anime person? And initially, before Suzume came out, I would say absolutely, this is a great show or movie to show someone that isn't into that kind of world.
Right.
But now that Suzume is out, I think that is his best film.
See, I agree about that, but I even think with Suzume, for me at least, I could very easily see it being a tough recommendation to somebody who has no perspective from anime, because I could see someone watching this or Suzume and being like, it's very overly dramatic. I don't understand the rhythm of the comedy, because there's so much comedy in this that's like, to me, it's inherently Japanese.
Well, so the comedy in Your Name really feels more anime than anything else.
It does, yeah.
Where the comedy in Suzume feels more natural.
It does.
And it's more like happenstance and kind of environmental.
Yeah, this film definitely has some anime-isms about it.
Yes.
A little bit,
you just kind of have to accept with it.
Like it even has like an opening theme, which does bother me, that it really ruins the pace at the beginning of the film for me.
The first time when I saw it at your house, I was like, fine. Okay, interesting.
But watching it a second
this time, I was like, that feels out of place.
It does.
Am I weird about this?
Yeah.
There's a few times throughout it where it just like, it hits and the words are on screen, the music, the lyrics.
Also, reading the lyrics are kind of like, that's got to be a bad translation.
I know, yeah. There's kind of like, I don't think that's right at all.
I have my face in a can of Coke. What?
But yeah, so what do you think, Steven?
I love this film.
I mean, it's a really good film.
Yeah, it's very
gorgeous. It is the right amount of the like unrequited love with a good, I think what I find to be a good payoff by the end.
Yeah, I agree with that.
It's got a good bit of like charm and weirdness to it.
Yeah,
that I like. You know what I mean? When things get kind of weird in the film, I'm here for it. Well, let's get goofy.
I really think the pacing of this film is fantastic.
It's very good.
Again, it's only like an hour 46 long, and like y'all said, it feels longer because I think they pack so much into that time frame.
They do.
Yeah.
And you're covering such a span of time in a way in the middle of the film.
Yeah.
I love the way they handled the characters. I mean, without getting to spoilers, we already mentioned there's body swapping mechanics, but how they handle the way the characters change depending on who's in charge of who, essentially. I love the way they handled that, and also them once it's back to them the next day or whatever.
Yeah.
And they're hearing from
which is really, really fun.
The supporting cast of their little friend groups, I thought was great. It's great interplay. It's also a great way to kind of reveal to the audience.
Yeah.
Things that you don't get to know, that they don't get to know as a character either.
Well, because you also get to see from their friend's perspective, the type of person that they're supposed to be.
Right. And what's different about them.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It's just a fantastic film. I love, and watching it now from a more, not just like, I'm just going to relax, put a movie on, we're over at Andrew and Holly's and we're going to make some models and he's got this on in the background. But actually sitting down just watching it is much more of an experience now than I think it was I think this is the third time I've seen the film. It's hard to really state because there are some anime-isms from a recommendation level.
Yeah.
And even just because it's not like this film's that old, but even just maybe a change in attitude or a cultural shift from a Japanese to the U.S. that may be a little questionable now.
And that's kind of the thing of like whenever I'm looking to recommend stuff, because like every time I watch a new show, I'm like, can I recommend this to people that aren't into anime, that watch like, weekly shows, whatever? And like I would have told you every single time, yes, your name, definitely watch it. But now like that Suzume's out, I'm like, but I think this is just such an easier, more accessible story.
For sure.
That doesn't have a lot of like the anime stuff to it.
Yeah, and to be clear, the anime stuff isn't bad stuff.
No, it's not bad. It's just
it's the language of the art form.
Yeah.
And if you haven't experienced enough of it, it could stand out.
It could be so jarring as to throw you off the rest of what's out there.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I will say, going through some of the 1-stars, there was one star where they're like, this writer hates the countryside and romanticizes the big city. And I was just like, oh, this is a weird take. I don't know where we're going with this. But in a way, it's kind of like this is one of those films that makes everything look beautiful.
Yeah.
The mundane, the simple, in a way that it isn't. Getting on a metro could it be beautiful? Sure, but you're probably just surrounded by a bunch of people like crammed into a tube.
Having been on the Tokyo Metro during rush hour multiple times,
crammed in a lot of people.
Beautiful.
It kind of sucks.
Yeah. Well,
it's majestic.
All I can think about is the New York subway, which is a different level of.
It is. Well, but that's the thing, though, is like, so Shinkai Films does a really good job at romanticizing, like living out in the country, or just the experience of just pulling a Coke out of a vending machine. Like it's those kind of.
Well, it's the attention to detail.
Yeah,
that's the other like anime-ism that I love is whenever it's like, hey, we're making something. You like see the chopping, the gas turns on the stove, or like just the simple action of like, I'm gonna get a Coke. Like if this was an American film, they'd be like, I'm gonna get a Coke, and they'd be standing there with the Coke in hand, label turned towards the camera.
Sure,
so you never see the vending machine.
Steven says all of this, yet he won't watch any of the slice of life anime that I recommend to him.
All it is people getting a Coke, Steven.
There's an entire camping anime.
Scarface, people love Scarface.
There's an anime about getting a Coke with your friend.
There actually is.
I'm sure there is. Yeah. I just said that as a joke, but it became real.
I mean, there's anime about like playing tennis and basketball and boxing.
Yeah, but that's like, sports. You can follow along.
Getting a Coke could be a sport. Just depends on where that Coke is.
My elbow! I'll never grab Cokes again.
Again, this is slice of life.
Yeah.
But it's also got an extra level of mysticism.
It does.
And
I think that's why I like Shinkai's films a lot, is because it's kind of like fantasy and magic adjacent. Like there's some supernatural to it, but it's still very much based in the reality.
It's got some interesting, because again, from the Western perspective, I'm so used to like a Judeo-Christian, and when you get into like Shinto or Shintoism, you get some really nuts stuff, because like when you look up like Japan, like most of Japan just says, well, I'm not religious,
right?
Yeah,
but they're still following a lot of traditions and spiritualisms and the shrines, this kind of thing. Like every region has its own god or gods, and small areas that are just completely unique to one place or another.
Yeah,
it's so cool to see that in a film like this.
Yeah,
but we did not. I keep seeing those fingers reach for those buttons.
Stop looking over here.
We did not get into yet recommendations. I think we've recommended
I definitely recommend it.
I just want to make that word.
I would recommend it to anyone who's interested in anime. If you've never seen anything, then maybe
Suzume first, but like this is still a good entry point.
It's still good. It's not bad.
It's definitely just a little bit on the more anime weirdness side than it is, just because you are getting body swapping between two different genders.
Even Weathering with You might be a better starting point.
Ooh, I don't know.
It's got some weirdness to it too.
Weathering with You is pretty down.
I love that film.
There's some fun parts in it, though.
There's some good moments, but I still think Suzume is just the best anime recommendation for films, period. Outside of like a Ghibli.
I would say Ghibli is usually the slam dunk choice.
Yeah.
Not Kid and the Goose, though.
Not Kid and the Goose.
So are you looking to see what it's like through our eyes whenever we're in an episode of what our opinions are? I have the place for you. You can go to spoilersintendedpodcast.com. It has access to all of our episodes, content, and stuff. You can see exactly what it's like to be me.
What a journey.
Just for a small smidgen of... You don't even have to live my life. It's great.
The nightmarish hellscape that it is.
If you do want to live Andrew's life, you can join us on Discord and find out what's going on in his life. You want to see photos of his pets? They're there. You want to see what he's eating for dinner? It's there. You want to show us what you're eating for dinner? I want to see it. I want to see your pets. Get in there. Come talk to us. We're talking about episodes, what people are watching.
Yeah.
No body swap required.
Yeah, no body swap. It's free. Discord is free.
Now, if you do want a body swap, wake up and reach up and grab a hold of 2 social medias. We have Facebook and Instagram. Okay, you can follow us on both. We post like what we're watching. We post behind the scenes stuff. We post, what we're going to be covering like the next month. Sometimes it's a great time. Come hang with us.
And we're back. We have crossed the threshold from one world to the next.
Katawara Doki.
It is now...
Why'd you say it like ASMR?
I didn't want to overpower Steven.
We have entered the
tapping the microphone.
Realm. Scratching. We've entered the spoiler realm. It is all spoilers all the time from here on out.
Yes.
If you have not seen Your Name, go watch it. Come back.
You should definitely go watch it.
Yeah, go check it out. It's really good.
All right, let's kick this off with some trivia. So, the red braided cord worn by
Mitsuha.
Thank you,
Mitsuha.
iPad.
Mitsuha.
No, that's not the problem. The problem is my iPad autocorrected it to Mitsubishi. So I had to stop.
iPad, you racist.
It was on track with Mitsu, and then I was like, wait a minute.
Mitsubishi?
Question mark? That can't be right.
Okay, let's try that again.
Dude, there's somebody listening that drives a Mitsubishi with a red braided cord attached to it. It's like, oh, I feel seen.
So the red braided cord worn by Mitsuha
–
represents the invisible red string that is said to connect someone to their soulmate.
The red string of fate.
Yes, in Japanese and Chinese cultures.
Yep.
Okay, cool.
So a very common trope and theme in Japanese anime.
Yes. And it plays out in the actual anime, like it's animated of them being connected by the string later on.
Yep.
I don't know that I've ever seen it applied so like literally though. Like in this one, it's like it is their fate.
Oh,
like
you find the right anime or manga?
I'm sure it does. But personally, I've never seen. I've seen it, but I haven't.
I do love how Shinkai's like they are connected.
Right? Yeah.
It's like figure it out, nerd.
Get it?
So this is the first anime film at the time not made by Studio Ghibli or Hayao Miyazaki to gross 10 billion yen, roughly $100 million at the Japanese box office.
Shinkai is just the James Cameron of
big name.
So what's his origin? Was he always a director? Did he come from the animation side?
He's an animator.
He's an animator, but he basically started doing his own films back in like the early 2000s.
Okay,
and like there's
like feature length.
Ish.
Okay.
Like I'll say like 40 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah, somewhere around there. And he basically did a lot of his own animation all the way pretty much till now. And most of the earlier stuff, like I'll look up the names, but most of his earlier stuff is not that great.
Okay.
But he really got a good one with She and Her Cat, which was like a little animated short.
Yeah.
And then Garden of Words really kind of put him out there because it was just absurdly good.
Right.
Like just the animation itself is just.
And it was like how long? How long?
Like 25 minutes.
25 minutes. So after that, he got this gig basically.
Pretty much.
Right.
Yeah. And then he like in Your Name was just far and above anything anyone had ever seen.
Right.
Again, the dude released a film for $5 million that made $383 million. Like, I just cannot. The return on that is just insane.
So I had this moment where I watched Weathering with You like earlier, like mid last year or whatever, and was again just blown away by the animation. Obviously, we watched Suzume reviewed it. We were blown away, and I had this thought of like, I feel like Your Name was really good looking, but I bet it doesn't hold up now that I've seen Suzume and I've seen
all these others. Yeah,
it holds up. It's still gorgeous. It's absolutely
so
gorgeous.
I actually had that wrong. So She and Her Cat was actually his first like real short that he did.
Okay.
Voices of a Distant Star and To the Promised Place are both like they're pretty rough around the edges, but they're not bad. 5 centimeters per second is what really got him his name.
Okay.
And 5 centimeters per second that's a full feature length film.
Yeah.
It's like basically 3 shorts kind of like
Stitched
going
together.
through. Yeah, and it's okay.
Okay.
It is pretty, but it's not like pretty.
So he like essentially cut his teeth as an animator, got noticed because his animation looked really good.
Yeah.
And then got...
He loves his clouds. And basically everything that he does is so clouds or rain. Like he loves his environmentals and everything like that.
From, clouds.
Well,
most of the time. Yes, all the time.
Yeah, all the time. Anyways, so Mitsuha's name means 3 leaves.
Sure does.
I'm going to apologize because I can't tell you if my iPad butchered these names or not. Her grandmother Hitoshi means 1 leaf.
I'll get you the
Give me the
prop,
names, please, because I don't trust this at all. After Mitsubishi, I don't trust it at all.
Please give me a second.
The all-new Mitsubishi
Basically,
Mitsuha.
the idea here is Mitsuha's name is 3 leaves. Her grandmother is 1 leaf. Her mother is 2 leaf, and her sister is 4 leaf.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So they are connected through the names.
It makes sense if
Despite at reading, the names look very different.
Hitoha is...
Thank you. I told you, I don't trust this at all.
Yeah, Hitoha is the grandmother.
What's the mother? Futaba? Is what this has?
Yotsuha is the younger sister. Futaba.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so
it left a red underline on it, so I assumed that it was correct. Anyways, moving forward, Inomori is a fictional town, although it is strongly inspired by the real Japanese town of Hida.
Yes.
Okay.
Which I looked up images of the town after I saw that. I don't see the connection.
Well, it's really just the crater.
It's in mountains and it has that, but it doesn't. Like I was looking for a shot of like the town surrounding the lake,
right? Yeah, no,
or like
it doesn't
the
really
bridge,
exist like
and
that,
none of that's there. Yeah. So
okay.
The logistics of having a town around a lake like that is just...
But when I look at it, like, what a dumb way to lay out a town.
Yeah.
So you got to go to the bakery. It's on the other side of the crater. It's going to take me half a day to get over there.
There's only one road. Traffic's murder.
Why don't we have a ferry?
So Makoto Shinkai personally finds this film to be incomplete and unbalanced.
Really?
Due to time and budget constraints.
I could definitely see the hour and 40-minute runtime definitely hurts a lot of like probably what he wanted to tell.
Interestingly enough, the ending is not the first ending that he had in the script. The studio Toho made him change it.
Yep.
It was actually a much more, I'll call it depressing ending.
They both die in a subway accident.
No, they both survive, but they move on and live their lives and never connect again.
Oh, that would just be the worst.
Right? How terrible is that?
Oh, it's terrible.
Like the ending as is, where they meet on the stairs and almost still don't talk to each other, and they just say each other's name to each other, and then it basically like the camera lifts up and flies away.
Right.
I'd still salted my wife out so hard. She's so mad.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because that's a very like Japanese storytelling.
It's such a Japanese
because
ending.
like, but at least like with Suzume, there is hard line of like they reconnect.
There's no ambiguity here whatsoever.
Right. Yeah.
So Radwimps worked closely with Shinkai on the script and story to create complementary music. This process led to script changes from the original.
You can definitely tell too because the music really fits
it
the
dovetails
scene so
really
well.
Yeah.
So the teacher who teaches classical Japanese, Miss Yuki, is Yukari Yukino, the main female character from Shinkai's previous movie, Garden of Words.
Yep.
Her partner, Takao Akazuki, also makes an appearance in the crowd near the end of the film.
Oh, really?
Yes, I didn't realize that.
I didn't realize that.
So in Weathering with You, Taki and
Mitsuha
both show up in it.
So that just means that the two characters from Weathering with You completely ruined Mitsuha and Taki's lives.
I know. They absolutely wrecked that world. Okay, final bit of trivia here, and this is really a
wild
piece
to
of
think
trivia
about that.
just for Andrew.
Okay.
Katsuhiko's desk, so that's Tessie,
Yeah.
has a rare and old computer, a Sharp X 68000.
Okay.
This is the same type of computer used by Daru Hasida in Steins Gate.
Yep.
Another
I actually knew
famous
that.
anime about time travel.
Yep.
Wow.
I saw that. I was like, I got to put this in here just for Andrew.
Yeah, I knew that because in Steins Gate, they really go over hard on the retro PCs.
Yeah.
Taki, played by Ryunosuke Kamiki. That's the same guy from Godzilla Minus One, right?
Correct.
Oh, nice. Okay.
I said that in the show.
In this one?
No, in my Godzilla Minus One.
Godzilla
Sure.
Minus One
I
show.
don't remember what happened yesterday. How am I going to remember an episode we recorded weeks ago?
Months
But yes,
ago.
yeah, it is the same guy.
guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he cut his teeth as doing. I mean, he's been an actor in a bunch of stuff, but he also does voice acting here and there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, which is pretty cool. So that's enough of trivia for now. In fact, for the rest of the episode.
In fact, that's all of our
That's all
trivia.
I have.
all the trivia I have.
Yeah.
So let's get into it. Let's dig deep.
So the one thing that I always see people complaining about with this film is the fact that their phones or they themselves don't try and look at like what year it is whenever they're looking at their phones or anything like that. And my comeback to this is basically always clearly like the magic that is in place in this like stops them from remembering things.
Sure. But I would also counter that with just like, how often do you look up what year it is?
0 times.
Right. Like you just assume you know what year it is. You move
Also,
along
like,
with your life.
You're already swapping bodies, and like you're trying to like my biggest thing is when the initial swap happens, and it's like, okay, your objective now, like viewing this as a video game, is like get to school. Where's my school?
Yeah.
Who are these people? Like, there's so much at stake
There's so
already.
much going on,
No.
especially for a teenager.
So I also totally lied about the end of trivia because you brought this up, and I'd forgotten that I had seen this.
Liar.
So when you look at the diary entries that they leave for each other, the dates, so like September 12th is the same, but they're different days of the week.
Yeah.
So you'll see like September 12th
wow.
Monday, September 12th Wednesday. So it's real fast, but it shows you in the film, hey, they're not lined up.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't catch that. But
But yeah, like the big that's always been the biggest criticism is like, how do these kids not know what year it is? And it's like, one, you never ask what year it is.
Who has to
Right.
ask that question?
Yeah,
honestly?
but then the other thing is too is that the magic that's in place that is allowing them to body swap is actively stopping them from remembering things.
So it could very easily.
Yeah, so
yeah,
it could,
they're having to
very
leave
rel-
messages to each other.
My thing is like, that's not even that big of a deal.
It doesn't.
For me, it's like, why did they not try to call each other before when they did? Like, I would have, like, day 2 been like, hold up. This is my number. Not like, I'd write my name and be like, call me immediately when you wake up. Let's talk this through.
Well, and that's the thing is like you could also definitely say that because clearly like whatever magic system is happening here, like it's not like in a dream, whenever you're like dreaming in general, like there are certain things that you can do and certain things you can't do.
Right, yeah.
And it's not that like in your mind you can be like, well, I can write down my phone number and then we can call each other, that kind of thing. But in the dream, like you just can't do it.
You don't think about that
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah.
Which I have to say, so I saw, it's not really a version of this story, but the same concept played out in a webcomic a long time ago. This was in college. And it was set during World War II. So it was an American girl and a Japanese boy. So it accounted for the swap where it was like, hey, when you're asleep, because they're on opposite sides of the world, you're living this other person's life. So it was always, but it wasn't like, because it was when you write a letter in a war, it's like how it works in the 40s, where it handled that issue. But yeah, I mean, that was always a complaint of mine as well, was just like, but at the same time, once you get into this magic system, like it's so soft and squishy.
Yeah, like it just doesn't matter. Yeah, because
That's
like,
being very nitpicky to me.
It's super nitpicky because like the story and the emotions are still there, particularly with Mitsuha's kind of unrequited love,
Right.
Pretty much until the last part of the film, and then the absolute turn that I cry every single time whenever I watch this is whenever, like this whole time you thought that he wrote his name down on her hand.
Oh, yeah.
And then
man.
like she falls down the thing. She's like, oh wait, I have it on my hand. It says I love you. I'm like, you
useless sack of-
every single time, and it just absolutely kills me.
Because he could have just shorthanded love Taki.
Yeah, but like he wrote it completely out, and it's just like, man, that's just one brutal just because the future is obviously not certain. She can't remember his name. She's like, I can't remember your name like this.
They're both forgetting each other's name. Like, that moment when everything is just like running away from them as everything is collapsing around them essentially in their world is just woof.
Yeah. I do like how he kind of like got back into where he went to like the little like mountain shrine with the sake and stuff, and like I really enjoy that whole section of the film because
what was that?
The way the sake's made. Right?
Okay. I thought you meant when they could see each other in the crater.
That's definitely one of my favorite parts of the film, because then like you as the audience realize whenever they realize, oh, he's still up there, like they can actually like meet up somehow, magic, but whatever.
I mean, you could just magic. That's that's how.
Yeah, what else do you guys think?
Wavy, what's it, wibbly wobbly wavy timey?
It's very, very wavy.
I love the fact that like she gets him a date with this girl he's got a crush on that he works with. And then when he's finally on the date, he's realizing I like Mitsuha.
Yeah.
And she calls him out on it too.
Yeah.
So there's someone else, right?
But then she becomes like one of his friends, and they go on this
I really do like that kind of dynamic too.
Yeah.
Because like that's not something you really see, especially in like Japanese anime and stuff.
Any kind of romance film, like when you go on that date with the person you're not supposed to be with, usually it's a total disaster.
It's a disaster. Yeah, it ends. You never see that girl again. Mm-hmm. Instead, they she's like his best friend. She hangs out and then like years from now reconnects.
Road trip across the country with him.
Yeah.
The boy, as he loses his mind trying to locate where this place is.
Yeah, and she's like, well, I'm glad I dodged a bullet here.
As he continues his descent into madness.
I came on this trip to confirm my choice. I made a good decision. Yeah, but I thought that aspect was really cool.
See, I love the flip side of that when Mitsuha is getting ready for her day and she's thinking about, oh, he'll be going on the date right now.
Oh, yeah.
That I set him up for and did all this for, and then she's like staring at herself and like she just starts crying in the mirror.
Oh, right. Yeah. Like, it hurts. Well, and then obviously whenever she goes and like tries to meet him in Tokyo and she like sees him on the subway and stuff, just like it's just those little
that bit too where I feel like I don't think the first two times I watched it, I just didn't connect me the timeline that they played with there of the fact that he had the braided cord before the body swapping began because she had already gone to Tokyo because they're on separate timelines.
Yeah. It was 3 years before. Or whatever.
Is this some random cute chick on the subway was like, have my hairband? I was like, okay, whatever.
I mean, he did call her a weird girl. Like.
He did, yeah.
I know, but also it just felt rude. I was like, what do you mean you call her? I was like,
clearly she's cute.
Clearly she's cute. Right? You're getting hit on by a girl.
You're on mass.
What's wrong with you, guy?
You're a teenager. Some cute girl starts hitting on you on mass transit. Okay, let me say, as someone who was a teenage boy at one time, I also would be like, this is a trap of some kind. There's a trick being played. No one hits on me.
You can't have my kidneys.
No one hits on me.
Definitely say that like the Japanese culture, it would definitely be very weirded out of like just some stranger like coming up to talk to you and like knowing your name and that kind of stuff.
Also, especially so difficult because at that point in her life, like they've had such an intimate relationship and he knows nothing.
He knows,
right.
So that's so awkward.
And it's just heartbreaking for her.
Yeah.
And
also the bit where like Tessie calls her out about that she cut her hair. Like, you go through a breakup and his girlfriend at the time where it was like, why do boys always think it's a breakup? Like, it's totally over a boy.
Yeah.
So actually, here's a question. And every time I watch this film, I always get a little confused. So like whenever the comet comes down and actually like hits the area in the city or town or whatever.
Yeah, it hits her on the forehead directly.
Yeah, just right on the dome.
Yeah, that's the sound that it makes.
And then it explodes right there. It never makes ground impact. It just explodes off her forehead.
Whenever like it shows the visual, like the comet's already like way far like past them. So like where like how like is it going around the Earth again and then coming and landing on top of them?
It's very confusing.
It is.
Because when you see it looks like
they're like looking out into the distance.
Yeah,
it's just gonna go hit the North Pole.
Because like orbital mechanics are gonna do something here.
Right. The first time I saw it, I thought it was another splinter
Like that was behind
her.
It could have been.
It's like, oh, okay. And then when they look up, they're like, oh, no.
They see, oh, wow, it's splitting apart. It's like, no, it's been splitting apart.
Right.
Yeah.
That's possible.
So,
or it's
but
just,
they make such a significant emphasis on that little red piece that flies off to the side that it's like, that's the implications that this is the piece that hits.
Yeah.
But it would have to go and like scoot backwards.
Or like, go all the way back around.
Or make a lap.
Like
I'll make a lap real quick.
270-degree turn midair.
Right. Yeah.
Homing acquired.
That's why it's red. It's just screeching to a halt.
The nomad beam comes down on me too.
It sees the red string of fate like band and is like, here we go.
Got it. Air brakes.
Target acquired.
Well, and not like because it takes the International Space Station 90 minutes to make an orbit around the Earth.
It's like it doesn't take that long, but also she wasn't standing in the field staring at it for that long either.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right. I'll stay right here for an hour and a half.
Knows, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like that's kind of always been a question for me. It looks incredibly pretty.
I always just took it for artistic license. It looks really good.
It does
and then
look really
disaster
good.
happens, and you don't have to question it too. You know, hey, the comet broke up, and there's an impact. It creates creators, right?
Piece hits, yeah.
Well, and also I like the bits of hits. Again, paying more attention to the film than I did in the past. It feels like, the bits of history you get about because like it's a town around a lake that is a crater.
Yeah,
and then her grandmother talking about 1,000 years ago they lost all of their knowledge of these traditions and stuff. Yeah, and it's because another meteorite hit there and caused this.
Right, it's just a magnet for comets.
Oh, this no, it's not the town. It's this family. It's an absolute magnet for comets.
Comets like, we got to wipe this family out. How did we miss?
Do something. How do we keep missing? These boys keep coming through time.
Yeah.
How do we account for that? I don't know.
Orbital mechanics.
Land earlier.
Turn harder.
Turn harder.
So the other thing, and we mentioned it at the beginning of the show about kind of like how this movie is very anime.
Yes.
And a lot of it does come down to like whenever he's like feeling up her boobs, whenever like he's body swapped and that kind of stuff,
But that doesn't even strike me as anime. That would happen in any kind of body swapping
honestly,
movie.
like
it would. It definitely would. Like Freaky Friday, it happens.
Like, so that one to me doesn't stand out
it's
as
just weird
anime
because
specific.
it's a guy doing it and not another girl doing it, like in Freaky Friday.
But like if in a movie it was like, oh, the guy just swapped with the hot girl from his high school, and like
that's the first thing.
Who in the class wouldn't be like
a movie called The Hot Chick with Rob Snyder and Rachel McAdams?
They even do it in Scooby Doo.
Sure. So it's to me that's not an anime thing. That's anytime a body swap would happen.
Now they do hammer home that like her younger sister is just like, oh, you're not playing with your boobs this morning.
No, so to me,
you're not insane.
That they build on that joke, and at the end where she's like emotional, it's like even funnier,
But also like, what a little sister thing to just be like,
oh, for sure.
I'm gonna say the most obvious, embarrassing thing just straight out.
Yeah.
I love
from the get.
The interactions between them is great.
Yeah, like I really do like how kind of snappy her little sister is.
Oh yeah, snarky.
Yeah, I want more of her.
Yeah,
like in the movie. I feel like that's one of the things.
Quantify that one. Now, hold on.
More action with her in the movie. Like more scenes with her.
Because she does have she has like some of the offhand comments and stuff.
Yeah,
and like whenever she's like, oh, you should make the sake and sell it in Tokyo, so then you can be like Shrine Maiden sake. Yeah, and then. Mitsuha's like, no, that's against liquor laws. She's like, that's your problem?
Yeah. Well, so that right there, her real quick, picturing of that to me was very anime.
It was, yeah.
And it almost didn't stay up long enough. Because it's like it hits it and then it moves. And it's like, okay.
Well, okay. So then what else would you consider outside of the really weirdly paced opening of the movie?
That for sure is the one of the things that stands out.
Because when I was like, you don't need this. Because we kind of have a little mini montage / opening in the halfway through the film.
Yeah, you have a montage of them spending time in each other's bodies essentially.
I would say a lot of the reactions, the really over the top, could for someone who hasn't seen anime is going to be like, what is this?
So one of my favorite moments, and you really only get it. I haven't watched the dub, but I feel that you would really only get this joke watching the Japanese is whenever Mitsuha's in Taki's body for the first time, and you're actually watching it. And he's sitting on the roof like they're eating lunch or whatever.
Okay, and this is such a good moment.
And she's trying to figure out how to say herself, which is like there's so many different ways in Japanese to say me.
Right.
and she's trying to figure out the proper dialect of how to actually say it.
Yes.
How he would normally say it. And just their reactions of like, no, that's not how you say it. No. Yeah. Yes, that one.
Well, the translation of it where she's like, well, you know, us fellas. And they're like, what? Us dudes. Huh? Guys? Yes. Okay. This is normal now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in the Japanese, like she's saying like herself or like myself, which is like, I don't know all the actual name, like words for it and stuff, but it's just like, I love that moment because if you're familiar with the language and like how, like isn't in anime, you always have like different dialects and how people kind of talk and everything and like country accents, that kind of stuff do exist.
Also, you think about, you know, like a friends group that's been together for years in a school. The way that you refer to each other is not going to be the proper as English class taught you to say. Just by default, it's not going to work that way.
Yeah.
Especially amongst a group of guys where like the terms of
always
endearment
a very short
are not.
hand.
Also, they could be using a slang that's only popular 3 years from now, and she doesn't even heard about it.
I love when so the moments with Taki in her body, like in the art class, and the little caddy group is talking about her. Kicks the desk over. It's just like, you want some?
See, I like that scene, but I want more. I want to see.
I want more.
I want her to stand up and be like, "Come at me, bro!" Like,
then it has her like playing basketball.
Yeah,
like a pro.
She doesn't have a bra. Well, and she also doesn't have a bra on because you know that's just what he does.
That's another.
He doesn't know how that works.
He doesn't understand.
But I really like the little cutaway of, you know, she's asking like, why is another girl confessing to me?
Oh yeah, that girl, that one guy. He's like, I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, I really enjoyed just the kind of those little fun points within those little mini montages and stuff, which are really good.
Well, I think they do a really great job of showing not just the passage of time, but like how they're kind of helping each other without maybe not necessarily meaning to, but it's just their personalities coming through.
Yeah.
Like with the restaurant manager lady, who she's like, well, I didn't know he had, you know, such a feminine side.
Yeah.
And, which of course for him is just like horrifying. Like, what do you mean?
I love the other three waiters who are like, what are you doing? Like, we're all supposed to not be able to date her. Like, how are you?
You walked her home last night? I did what?
I did what? What happened? I don't know.
I don't know.
And I really like whenever they're like, well, what did you say to her? And it's like, I don't remember. And they're like, oh yeah, right.
Yeah, right. You jerk. Yeah.
And then she like walks in and like winks at him and they all just look back at him. He's like, I don't know.
He's like, I don't know. So, random question. What do y'all think is the most beautiful scene in this movie?
Oh, man.
If you had to narrow it down to a sequence or a scene, what is the one thing that you're like, oh, man?
That's brutal.
So I'll definitely tell you that my wife would say any of the scenes with the trains in it, of like basically
just
a lot of just like kind of Tokyo moving it, you know, just how it normally does. Like she loves those kind of things. For me, man, like I feel cliche just saying the comet scene.
I would say the comet,
but the comet scene is
really
just
good.
incredible.
Well, I mean, he knew what he was doing, but also like the bit where as it falls and then the camera turns into their eye, and like the reflection in their, that's really well done. I would agree with some of the train sequences. I think, specifically with that, the sequences with Taki after he's forgotten her, where he's seeing glimpses of her through the city and glimpses of like the people he knew in her life.
Yeah.
And like, because I feel like those are just one beautifully animated, like the emotional point right then hits hard because you know what you're being shown, but he doesn't.
Well, and he doesn't. And then I also love that they show, you know, obviously like Tessie and I can't remember her name. But they clearly they both got together and they're together, you know, that kind of thing. But then, you know, up until that point, you're like, well, that could have been Mitsuha, but that could have just been, you know, just a little.
It could just be any girl with a red braid.
They clearly show her sister, and you're like, okay, she has to be alive.
Has to be around here somewhere. Yeah. Man, I love, so like the climax of this film is, I think for a lot of people maybe a little crazy or disjointed because you get really deep into the soft magic system of them like meeting each other at twilight, which I really like the foreshadowing of that.
Yeah,
of the idea of Half-Light or the glowing.
Half-Light, yeah.
But I just love that whole moment. And it's so rude whenever like it ends and then just like the marker falls on the ground. You're like, oh my God, no.
Because the music stops, everything just cuts. You're like,
collapses. No. But like that whole sequence and then also just like the sheer intensity of them trying to evacuate the town, where like no one will believe them, and they like hack into the system.
They blow up a substation.
They literally terrorist bomb an electrical utility.
They do what is, for teenagers, the most buck wild and elaborate. They explode a substation. They hijack this pirate radio.
Yep.
And then everybody in the town's like,
whatever.
It's just
I would have been furious if I was the teenager who exploded a substation. We took over the radio waves. We're like, get out of here.
I started a forest fire. Yeah. Your people are still standing at the festival. Like, there's no lights.
I'm going to get a funnel cake. I don't think so. And I'm like, I would have been insanely mad.
Okay, so another random question.
Yeah.
Short hair or long hair for Mitsuha?
Long hair.
Both.
Yeah. Well,
yes.
I don't know. I think short hair.
You think short hair?
So,
I like short hair with the braid.
Oh no, I'm going opposite story here.
Okay.
Long hair with the red cord, short hair without the cord. I don't think the cord adds anything with the short hair.
I think the cord adds something.
I don't know. I think the cord adds something.
It's the cord.
I mean, it's the whole strand of their connection. Cord. How could it not be?
Yeah.
But I do really like the sequence too, when they are grandma is doing the weaving and she's doing different weaving, and then the kid is just relegated to loading the bobbins or whatever.
Listen to the thread.
She's telling you to concentrate.
Because I like how the grandmother is very like telling her the platitudes of like, you need to learn the emotions of the thread. She's telling you to concentrate.
Well, but it's also, I mean, when you look at Japanese society now, right, you have a lot of these villages and towns that are kind of far flung and out there, where the older generations are holding on to the traditions and whatnot, and the younger generations are moving to Tokyo, right?
Yeah.
They're leaving it behind. So it's kind of a sad feeling of the dying out of these memories and stories, really.
Wow, well, it's almost like Suzume does exactly that.
It does.
It's crazy.
Yeah. It's almost like this is something Shinkai is kind of about, right?
Yeah. But you see it especially when she's like making the sake.
Oh, the whole ceremony.
And then her friends. I'd be so embarrassed. Oh
Tittering,
my gosh. Like, get out of here.
Get down there and
I'd spit that sake in her face.
Can you imagine if like midway through the ceremony, like Taki is taking control? What is going on? What am I doing? Oh, these bees! I'm going over the railing.
Yeah.
That would have been amazing. Like her sister in the background, like horrified.
Her beating them down with her little like bell.
The bell.
Yeah,
thing.
clink, clink, clink. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, honestly, like I think we could talk about this for a long time.
Yeah,
whether or not
it's a great film.
wanted to or not, because it's a really spectacular.
I would definitely rewatch it. Like, I didn't watch it since 2016, but it wasn't I wasn't avoiding it. It's just
there's just a lot else to watch. Yeah,
I'll rewatch this basically anytime.
Yeah, it's an easy watch.
Yeah, I'm down for just a lot of Shinkai here for a while. Maybe break out, because I haven't watched Suzume in a while.
You should.
With you. Work my way back through them again.
Watch Suzume.
That's just the whole weekend. That's all he's going to pester.
Andrew's going to pay for like PSA airtime. Watch Suzume. That's it.
All right. Well, it does sound like we are kind of winding down here. But before we let you go, we need to talk about our Patreon.
Yup.
You want to talk about a return on investment? Makoto Shinkai thinks he can offer a return on investment. Well, I have got a deal for you.
He hasn't seen our Patreon.
For just $1 a month, you get access to all of our bonus episodes, all of our previous bonus episodes, guaranteed one new episode a month.
Yep.
And we get a little bit wild, a little bit weird, a little bit wacky.
We have some buzzer competitions that we've done. We actually had like a whole anime competition of us trying to like guess the openings of animes before the other ones did.
And now that is actually in our main feed.
That's on the main feed,
The whole episode. It's not a preview. You can listen to that.
Yeah.
Well, never mind. That's not exclusive.
But there are
it gives you a good idea of what the exclusives are like.
Yes.
It does, yeah.
And we do have previews scattered throughout the main feed if you want to try before you buy.
Yeah.
Get a taste of the weirdness. We do tier lists. We make ourselves sick.
We fight presidents, possibly monarchs. You never know.
Yeah.
Oh, we got some cool stuff coming up too.
Oh, for sure.
Just $1. What a return on that.
What a bargain.
What a bargain. There it is. All right. Well, it does sound like we're starting to wrap up. So if you would, follow us on socials, leave us a review wherever you're listening right now, and share us with a friend. But until next time, I'm Steven.
I'm Andrew.
I'm Ryan.
And every spoiler was intended.